Here is the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, number 10, Sparky Anderson. Batting first and playing center field, number 28, Bobby Tolan. Batting second and playing right field, number 14, Pete Rose. Batting third, playing third base, number 24, Tony Perez. Batting fourth and catching for Cincinnati, number 5, Johnny Bench. Batting fifth, playing first base, number 23, Lee May. Batting sixth, playing left field, number 25, Bernie Carbo. Batting seventh, playing second base, number 19, Tommy Helms. Batting eighth, playing shortstop, number 13, Dave Concepcion. Batting ninth and pitching for the Reds this afternoon, number 38, Gary Nolan on the sidelines. And here are the remaining players and coaches of the National League champions, Cincinnati Reds. Now, for the Baltimore Orioles, here is the manager of Baltimore, number 4, Earl Weaver. Batting first, playing left field, number 9, Don Buford. Batting second, playing center field, number 6, Paul Blair. Batting third, playing first base, number 26, Boog Powell. Batting fourth, playing right field, number 20, Frank Robinson. Batting fifth, playing third base, number 5, Brooks Robinson. Batting sixth, catching for Baltimore, number 10, Elrod Hendricks. Batting seventh, playing second base, number 15, Dave Johnson. Batting eighth, the shortstop, number 7, Mark Belanger. Batting ninth and pitching for the Orioles this afternoon, number 22, Jim Palmer. In the bullpen. And here are the remaining players and coaches of the American League champions, Baltimore Orioles. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, which will be played by the York Suburban High School Band.
fourth game of the 1970 World Series being brought to you from Baltimore as the Cincinnati Reds meet the Baltimore Orioles. Identification. This is the NBC television network. The honor of throwing out the first ball today goes to a man who has spent 40 years in baseball and distinguished himself at every level. Joe Cronin, a great shortstop with the Senators and Red Sox, a Hall of Famer, a manager with the Red Sox. He won the pennant there, pennant at Washington, general manager with the Red Sox, now president of the American League. Casey Stengel. Weather a little warm for Casey today in his shirt sleeves. Being introduced around as Commissioner Kuhn. Stengel will throw out the first ball. Maybe Cronin's giving it to Stengel. I guess Casey gets the honor. We were told Joe Cronin was going to do it. Look at this wind-up. Ellie Hendricks, the Baltimore catcher, received the pitches. So officially the first ball has been thrown out, and here are the Orioles coming on the field, trying to wrap it up today. They get a hand from the hometown fans. We'll set Baltimore up defensively for you. Same lineup, except for the catcher yesterday. At first base, John Powell. Second base, Dave Johnson. Shortstop, Mark Belanger. Brooks Robinson at third. That's great infield. In left field, Don Buford. Center fielder, Paul Blair. Right fielder, Frank Robinson. The catcher is Ellie Hendricks. And the winner of Game 1, who wasn't too sharp that day but still won, Jim Palmer, coming back this afternoon. And now to take over and give you the play-by-play action for the first 4.5 innings, the voice of the Baltimore Orioles, Chuck Thompson.
Thank you very much, Curt Gowdy, and again, good afternoon. And we seem to have, weather-wise, exactly what Curt and I were telling you about yesterday. A very bad morning that is presently trying to turn into a pleasant afternoon, as we can see blue skies overhead. The little bit of a breeze that is apparent here at Memorial Stadium is drifting gently towards center field. And we'll have a brief delay as center fielder Paul Blair has elected to come on and pick up some sunglasses from the Baltimore bat boy Jay Mazzone, and the umpiring alignment as you see. The American League's Bob Stewart at the plate. From the National League, Bill Williams at first. From the American League, Emmett Ashford second. From the National League, Ken Burkhardt at third. And on the left field foul line from the American League, Red Flaherty, John Red Flaherty. And on the right field line from the National League, Tony Benson. Jim Palmer has been runner-up in the ERA in the American League in each of his last 2 seasons, with a .234 in 1969 and .271 in 1970. Ran behind Diego Segui's .256. And his won and loss percentage of .670 is the very best among the active American League pitchers. And now here is Bobby Tolan. This is a switch, as Curt mentioned, in the Cincinnati Reds batting order. Tolan, batting in the number 2 spot through the first 3 games, is now leading off, and here we go in Game 4. Base hit. For Tolan, that will be his 4th World Series hit. And Tolan against Palmer did rather well. He doubled in the first inning, walked in the third, and then flied to center and flied to left field.
Rose.
Now Pete Rose, batting in the number 2 spot, has 2 base hits and 11 trips this season. That base hit by Tolan, opening up the 4th game, now gives him an 8-game hitting streak. Out of play, strike 1 to Pete Rose. Rose against Jim Palmer in the opening game, bounced out twice to short, reached on catcher's interference, fly to center and walked. And 2 for 11 in the series. Palmer is one of the Oriole pitchers who has been much more effective at home than on the road in the last 2 years. Tolan is running no play at second, it'll be first base. One down. Pete Rose is gone on the ground ball to Johnson. Tolan now at second with one out. And here comes Tony Perez. Curt?
Chuck, it looks like the Reds might play a gambling game today, trying to open anything up for themselves.
That's the position they're in. They've got to take every possible chance and play a wide-open offensive game, a daring brand of baseball, because, well, they just have to win today. So Tolan is now at second with one out, and here is Perez, and it has been a disappointing series for Perez so far. Perez has been to the plate 10 times, has one base hit. Against Palmer in the opening game, he had 3 fly balls to the outfield and walked. Palmer, in 70, had an 11-3 record with a 1.69 ERA here at Memorial Stadium compared to 9-7 on the road. 1-1 now. In the third and the final game of the playoffs against the Minnesota Twins, Palmer set a career high, striking out 12 of the Twins. That's the Palmer curve. And the count now is a ball and 2 strikes. And it was in that third game here at Baltimore that many of the Minnesota hitters claimed that they lost the ball frequently in those white houses we showed you yesterday here at Memorial Stadium, because Palmer, as a right-hander, is right up on top of everything. No, it's 2-2. Curt?
Wonder if he had his pancakes this morning.
You can, if you're a wagering man, you can bet just about everything you've seen that he has had them this morning. Out of play. That's a standing order that Curt mentioned in the Palmer household. The day he pitches, his breakfast consists of pancakes, and his nickname is Cakes. One out, Tolan second. 2-2 the count to Perez. That's the Palmer curve again. And for Palmer, his first strikeout. This game is authorized under television rights granted by Major League Baseball solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is similarly prohibited unless authorized in writing by the Commissioner of Baseball. Here's Bench. Ball 1. Bench in the series. 2 hits in 11 trips. And one of those 2 came against Jim Palmer to drive in the first run of the 1970 series. 2 balls, no strikes. That's Tolan, the base runner at second. He opened with a single to right. Here's Sparky Anderson, almost blotted out by Boog Powell, who was big enough to blot out quite a few players. 3-0 now. This is an indication. If Palmer has difficulty this afternoon against the Reds, this is something that you will see a good bit of. Normally, when he does not have his good stuff and is not pitching up to form, he has a lot of difficulty getting the ball down. He is now 3 balls and no strikes to Johnny Bench with 2 out and Tolan at second. Well, let's see if it's in or out of play. Boog Powell. Yes, sir. That is a catch. It is a catch.
Now it's finally Boog Powell's turn to turn in a good play in the infield. This foul ball, a double chance at it. The big fella on top of the dugout pops out of his glove up in the air quickly with a bare hand. Baltimore's made 5 errors. Cincinnati hasn't made an error in this series, but Baltimore's been the top fielding team.
And so at the middle of the first inning, the score is Cincinnati 0 with Baltimore coming to bat. Well, quickly a look at the Red defense at first base, Lee May, and at second base, Tommy Helms. Concepcion, the shortstop, and Perez, the third baseman. The left fielder is Carbo, and the center fielder, Tolan. And the right fielder is Pete Rose. Catching, it's Johnny Bench. And on the mound, Gary Nolan. Here is Buford, to a .364 hitter. Games played today. Strike 1. Nolan in game number 1 in Cincinnati got off to a magnificent start. He retired the first 10 Orioles in a row until Paul Blair had a scratch single down the third base side in the 4th inning. 1-1 now to Don Buford. In the game, Nolan, who pitched 6 2/3 innings, as we look at the figures on Buford, season-wise with Baltimore. Nolan 6 2/3 innings, set 5 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. And that'll be a foul tip, strike 2. Buford has a 12-game hitting streak alive. And over that streak, he's hit .357. This will be a 1-2 pitch to Buford. 2-2 now. Gary Nolan was born in Herlong, California, now lives in Oroville, California. 5th year in the pro ranks. Started in the Cincinnati organization in 1966, and he and Palmer, as you know, have had physical difficulties in their past. 2-2. 3-2 now. There's a good look right now at what Gary Nolan has accomplished in the '70 season, in his lifetime, and in the 1970 World Series. 3-2 to Buford. Well, it may be out of play, but let's watch bench. It's going to be out of play. Well, there are 6 California-born players in this series. Three and 2 to Don Buford. They played Buford to pull the ball. And he's on to the wall. Buford reaches with a base on balls, and now here is the man who has just suddenly come to life after a very dismal 3-game playoff series against the Minnesota Twins when he managed to scratch out but 1 base hit. He has come on in the World Series against Cincinnati to show 6 hits in 12 trips to the plate, including a double and 2 runs batted in. Now Lee May will hold with a base runner Buford at first base. Fine play from Tony Perez. Retires the sacrificing Paul Blair, but that was an outstanding play from Perez. You have but one option on a bunt as good as that one, and that is to make the pickup with the bare hand and the throw. A fine sacrifice by Blair and a good play from third baseman Perez. 1 out, and now Boog Powell. And Cincinnati collared Powell yesterday for the first time in the series. Powell leads the series in home runs. He has 2. He has 4 runs batted in, 3 hits and 9 trips, and a .333 batting average. And they now have the Powell shift in effect with 3 infielders between first and second, in that the base runner Buford has reached second. Now we notice that Concepcion, the shortstop, is moving over now to the third base side. But before the first pitch, he was the other way.
And still trying to jam Powell every chance they can.
Ball 1 to count to Boog. One and 1. Powell, against Gary Nolan in the opening game, hit the 2-run home run in the 4th inning that got Baltimore on the scoreboard. That was his only hit against Gary Nolan. And yes, it was an opposite field home run. Just got into the left field corner. 1-1 to Powell. 1 and 2. And again, as Curt pointed out, they keep the ball in on Boog. That is the way to be successful. But it's been pointed out many times, if you miss a little bit and then get the ball out over the plate, it can cause problems. No score. We're just underway. Game 4 here in Baltimore. 1-2 pitch. Fine play by May. He's going to the bag. The unassisted put out. Down to third base goes Buford on the play. A good play from first baseman Lee May to retire Boog.
May's had an excellent World Series. He's fielded very steadily at first, made a couple of good plays. He's had 4 hits, 4 RBIs, and he's been robbed twice by Brooks Robinson. I think overall he's probably been the top all-around player for the Reds so far in the series.
Unquestionably, he has. And here is a man who is hoping to make a late showing for Baltimore. Through the first two in Cincinnati, Frank Robinson went 0 for 9. Yesterday, he picked up 3 base hits, including a big home run, by big distance-wise, about 430 feet to center field. There are 2 out with Buford, and there is the #1 Oriole in the 70 series, Brooks Robinson. But now let's watch Frank. Good breaking ball. Frank against Nolan went 0 for 4. Well, actually 0 for 3 against Nolan, was called out on strikes against Clay Carroll. Another good breaking pitch from Gary Nolan, 0 and 2. Fine breaking stuff. And Earl Weaver is saying something to the plate umpire, who is the American League umpire Bob Stewart. Apparently he felt that pitch didn't have as much of the strike zone as Stewart felt. So Frank now is in the hole, 0 and 2. Buford third and 2 out. Count holding 2 strikes. Again, a 2-strike pitch to Frank Robinson. 2 out, Buford third. He's out. Strike 3 called. And that'll be it for the Orioles. So at the end of the first inning, the score is Baltimore 0 and Cincinnati 0. The very capable coaches for the Cincinnati Reds at third base, Alex Grammas, and at first base, one of the big men. What a hitter he was in his time, Ted Kluszewski. And now here is Lee May. As Curt pointed out a moment ago, unquestionably, he is the stickout for the Cincinnati Reds in their desperate battle against Baltimore here in the 70 series. He's hitting .364. If it stays in play, Hendricks may have a chance, but let's watch. It's out of play. Strike 1 to May. May has been up 11 times with 4 base hits, 1 of them a double. He has a home run, and he has knocked in 4 runs. And he's handled everything he's needed to at first base. One ball, 1 strike now to Lee May. May against Palmer in the opening game, singled in the first inning and hit a home run in the third. 2-1 now to May. A 2-run home run at that. That's the curveball for the strike. Palmer is a power pitcher. He's got a very, very good fastball, the 2-2, ball 3. And he also has an outstanding curveball. He did use a slider early this year, has discarded it. He said it destroyed the effectiveness of his curveball. 3-2. Curve, ball 4. And Palmer did not appreciate the call. He jumped a little bit off the mound, didn't he? And here's the story on Palmer. In 1970, for the first time in his career, a 20-game winner. And his lifetime stats are there also. And the story on his efforts in the 1970 World Series. Curt?
He had trouble getting to that 20 mark, didn't he, in September?
He did. He really did. It got to be quite a thing. I think his 4th shot at it, he finally made it, Curt. But it looked like he was just not going to be a 20-game winner this year. Here is Carbo. Now, Bernie Carbo against Palmer in game number 1, walked twice and lined out to third twice. Fine first-year man for Cincinnati. Out of play. 2 strikes to Carbo. Carbo has also made a pinch-hit appearance in the series. He is 0 for 3. Leadoff walk to Lee May. No score, top of the second. Fourth game. Baltimore leading 3-0. Palmer curve gets Carbo. Strikeout number 2. 1 out in the inning. And now the very steady and very capable Cincinnati second baseman, Tommy Helms. And at the plate, Tommy is hitting .167 in the series. 2 hits in 12 at-bats. And that's what he did for the Reds, leading them to the National League Championship. Ball 1. The Orioles defensively against Helms seem to figure that he'll hit the ball about where it's pitched. Their outfield is really fanned out. Although Buford is giving Helms a lot of the foul line down the left field side, and Frank Robinson not so much in the right field area. Out of play, 1 ball, 1 strike to Helms, and Blair, the center fielder, straight away.
Chuck, it appears to me, I'd like to get your observation, that Palmer's throwing harder than he did the first game.
It was expected. Palmer in the opening game did not really throw as well as he is capable of throwing. Out of play. But it is Earl Weaver has made that comment about both Jim Palmer and about Dave McNally, and it might irritate some Cincinnati fans, but it is the simple truth that both McNally and Palmer were capable of the better effort. And that's an example of the Palmer curveball again. The effort that Weaver referred to was McNally's effort against Minnesota, not in the World Series game yesterday. But he did refer to Palmer's opening game effort against Cincinnati at the beautiful Riverfront Stadium. Here is Dave Concepcion hitting .333. Started yesterday's game, had 1 hit and 3 trips, and he hit the ball right on the nose every trip to the plate. He's got a couple of runs batted in. And the Orioles play him to go the other way. Ball 1. By that I mean they play the right-handed hitter to hit the ball to right field. As you see Blair toward the alley in right center. Frank is fairly straight away, maybe favoring the foul line in right field. Infield straight up. There are 2 out. Leadoff walk at May at first base. Or put him there. And he's hit it sharply again, has Concepcion. And this one is going all the way to the wall, and Lee May is headed for third. May is going to score. The throw to third. Concepcion has tripled to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead.
He handles that bat to right field. As Chuck said, he hit it right on the nose yesterday to right. They put him in there to get more punch in the lineup. He out-hit Woody Woodward about 40 points during the season.
An example of how sharply the ball had to be hit. Not very often will you see that type of a drive get by Paul Blair, the Orioles center fielder. Now here is Gary Nolan. Dave Johnson waiting. And the play to first for the final out. But Cincinnati has a run and a hit. And at the middle of the second inning, the score is Cincinnati 1, Baltimore 0. Looking now at the Baltimore coaches, third base, Billy Hunter, and at first base, George Staller. And in the last half of the second inning against Gary Nolan, it'll be Brooks Robinson, Elrod Hendricks, and Dave Johnson. This will mark now the 3rd time in 4 games that Cincinnati has scored first. Brooks Robinson having the great World Series, not only at the plate with 4 hits and 12 trips and a .333 mark, but incredible defensive plays. And he will get quite an ovation when the announcement is made. We'll listen.
Batting fifth, play third base, number 5, Brooks Robinson.
One strike to Brooks. Hit the winning home run Saturday, a tying single Sunday, a pair of doubles yesterday, and no one will ever forget the defensive efforts. 1-1. In the opening game against Gary Nolan, Brooks grounded to third twice and then hit a solo home run in the 7th inning. Out of play, 2-2 to Brooks Robbins. Into the Oriole dugout. The end of the line is Earl Weaver, Boot Powell, Jim Palmer, Mark Belanger. Out of play. On deck hitter is Elrod Hendricks. A very solid surprise in this series. Foul ball.
Robinson, not a big home run hitter, but he'll hit 18, 20, 25 during a normal year. He hit 18 this last year, and he's now taken the lead in this World Series in RBIs. He's knocked in 5 runs.
That is his 3rd lifetime series home run, and here is Hendricks. Second baseman Helms. 1 gone. This 1970 World Series will be seen via satellite in Puerto Rico and Caracas this year. It will also be seen in Taiwan, China for the very first time and heard in the Chinese language. The series will also be seen in Canada, both English and French, Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, Costa Rica, Bermuda, Panama, Virgin Islands, Brazil, and the Philippines. And service personnel in almost every corner of the earth can hear the broadcast via American Armed Forces radio service. And a strike 1 to Johnson. He's had 2 hits in 8 trips in the series, hitting .250. One of the 2 hits, a double. Tie game, 1-1. And that now is the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. The on-deck hitter for Baltimore, Mark Belanger. Nolan to May. And 2 down. Now Mark Belanger, he is looking for his 2nd hit in the series. He's been to the plate 11 times with 1 base hit, and that figures to 091. Curt?
Sometimes they have too much to think. I've had too much time.
Right. And the first souvenir ball in the NBC booth here in 1970. Just a little confusion. Gowdy and Thompson play these foul balls the same way, under the table. 1-1 to Belanger. Two balls and a strike. Out of play. 2-2 to Belanger. 2 down, nobody on. And a tie ball game on the Brooks Robinson home run. On deck, Jim Palmer. I'll tell you about that crowd reaction in a moment. Well, the center fielder, Tolan, should make the play. And does. A run on a base hit, and so at the end of the second inning, the score is Baltimore 1 and Cincinnati 1. In the Cincinnati half of the third inning, it'll be Bobby Tolan, Pete Rose, and Tony Perez in that order. Tolan opened the game for the Reds with a single to right field. His fourth hit of the series. Ball one to Bobby. Ball two. Ball three. Fowler gives up another walk. His second, as opposed to 3 strikeouts.
We haven't seen too much base stealing in this series. We may see something now, though. The boy at first, Bobby Tolan, led the majors in stolen bases. It's a tie game, third inning.
And now here is Pete Rose, who bounced to the second baseman in the first inning, but Tolan was running on the pitch, and he reached second. Paul Blair going to try to cut it off, and he's there. Tolan will go to third. And the Reds have him on the corners with nobody out.
Rose is starting to time that ball now, Chuck, the last 2 days.
Leadoff man has reached for each club every inning. And I see a stirring of activity now in the Oriole bullpen as Hendricks visits with Jim Palmer. It'll be Dave Leonard, that number 40, right in the middle of the picture, getting ready. Johns Hopkins grad. Nobody out. Runners first and third, and here is Perez, struck out in the first inning. The Palmer fastball. That's Tolan at third, and here is Pete Rose at first. Nobody out. 1-1 tie. And Palmer to Perez. Four strikeouts for Palmer. And there's no let-up, as here is Johnny Bench. Fouled out to Boog Powell in the first inning, and Powell made a juggling, interesting catch. Ball one.
You know, Chuck, so far, the Orioles have taken care of Perez and Bench. Perez now is 1 out of 12. Bench is 2 out of 12. They're 2 big power men. Of course, they could burst loose any moment.
Well, let's see if it's in play. It appears to be out of play. And it is. 1-1. Though May is having a fine series, Rose, Perez, Bench, and May are hitting a combined .218. 1 ball, 1 strike now to Bench. Tolan third, Rose first, 1 out. Well, Belanger, the shortstop, watched Tolan at third. Here's Belanger. And he starts home, and Belanger's throw stops him. Two down. Top of the third. 1-1 tie, and here is Lee May. Lee with 4 hits in 11 trips. Walked in the second and scored all the way from first on the 2-out triple by Concepcion. Belanger can't do a thing with it. He knocked it down, but the run scores, and Cincinnati leads 2-1. An infield hit for May.
That gives May 5 RBIs to tie him with Brooks Robinson. Talking to Ralph Houck last night, the Yankee manager, he says Belanger has the greatest range in the American League. He gets the ball no other shortstop does, and there was a good example.
Runners first and second, 2 down, 2-1 Cincinnati, and now Carbo. Strike one, Bernie. Brooks Robinson going to third for the force that ends the inning. And so, at the middle of the third inning, the score is now Cincinnati 2, Baltimore 1. Well, a good look in from the center field area here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, where 51,700 plus saw the third game here yesterday afternoon, and it looks as though they have the same crowd this afternoon, and Jim Palmer to lead off. Palmer has been to the plate twice in this. Check that 4 times in this series without a base hit.
Pitching for the Orioles, number 22, Jim Palmer.
On the year, that's the way you work with the plate. Ball 1. Center fielder Tolan cannot get there. So pitcher Jim Palmer has Baltimore's second hit. Temperature in Baltimore this afternoon will reach the middle 70s.
Number 9.
We'll have scattered clouds with us, intermittent sunshine. And now Don Buford. He walked in the first inning. Lee May. He's got Buford. No sacrifice, but down to second base goes Palmer. Buford retired unassisted by first baseman Lee May. And now Paul Blair, sacrificed in the first inning.
Paul Blair.
Pretty good figures for a young man who spent 3 weeks on the disabled list after a very unfortunate accident. He was struck in the face by a pitch thrown by Ken Tatum. Strike one to Blair. The runner at second, and he is one of the very best runners on the Oriole club. 1-2. Strikeout for Gary Nolan. That'll be 2 in the strikeout column. We got a looking third by Frank Robinson and the swinging strike to Blair. And here's Boog Powell.
Number 26, Boog Powell.
Chuck, this wind has suddenly come up. We have a breeze now blowing toward right field in favor of a left-handed batter.
Ball 1, and again, as has been pointed out, Nolan continues to work in on Powell. Palmer opened with a single, took second on Buford's infield bounce out, stayed there as Blair struck out. Two balls, no strikes to Powell. Three and 0 to Powell. Ball 4 to Powell. And that brings out Frank Robinson and a little disappointed Gary Nolan. Frank was called out on strikes in the first inning. Cincinnati, 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors. Baltimore, 1 run, 2 hits, and no errors. Against Frank Robinson, shortstop Concepcion is maybe 3 steps back on the outfield grass. One strike. That's the way Dave has intended to play Frank Robinson. The rest of the infielders are just normally deep. Time is called. Pat Corrales is on his way down to the Cincinnati bullpen area, so we'll wait for the gate to open. And now we're ready to go. Powell first, Palmer second. 2 out and a strike to Frank Robinson, and Sparky Anderson looking on. 1-1. Good quick pickoff from the bench. This is Don Gullett throwing in the Cincinnati bullpen. And Clay Carroll is also out there. The count is 1-1 to Frank Robinson. 1-2 now on the check swing. And Earl Weaver. Showed you Gullett, now you see Clay Carroll. One and 2 to Frank. 2 out. Count holding 1-2. The intent-looking Gary Nolan. Base hit. Palmer around third, coming home. Throw. Tie game. Well, Frank Robinson, who went 0 for 9 in the first 2 games, now has 4 hits in the last 2. Brooks Robinson homered in the second. Ball one. Bench talking to Nolan, and you see Sparky Anderson on your screen. And in the background of the picture, Coach Sugar probably talking to the bullpen. Sparky Anderson, the youngest manager in the majors, 36. 2 balls, no strikes to Brooks. There are 2 out, tie game 2-2. 2-1. Reds scored first, top of the second. Baltimore tied it in the bottom of the second. Cincinnati went in front 2-1 in the top of the third. Baltimore is tied here in the bottom of the third. Base hit. Here comes Sparky Anderson, and if we read the gesture correctly, that means the left-hander is wanted from the bullpen, and the left-hander is Don Gullett. Brooks Robinson now has 6 base hits in the series and 6 runs batted in, and the first error has been charged to center fielder Bobby Tolan, which allowed Brooks Robinson and Frank the extra base. Well, there's a break in the action here at Memorial Stadium with a score, Baltimore 3 and Cincinnati 2. Well, Gary Nolan has lifted after going 2 2/3 innings. Baltimore reached him for 4 base hits, 1 walk and 2 strikeouts, and there are 3 runs charged. And of course, Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson are also his responsibility as Gullett warns.
Pie Traynor, 71 years old, was voted year before last the greatest third baseman of all time. Lefty Grove yesterday, interviewed by Tony Kubek, said they were both even. So we called Pie Traynor today and asked him his personal observations regarding Brooks Robinson.
Well, Brooks Robinson is stealing the whole World Series. He's a man in a spot that it's unusual for a third baseman to go and steal a World Series, but he is doing it, and he's having a great play every day in the 3 games as far as fielding and also hitting. But he was known as a great ball player 8 or 9 years ago, because I had to go to Baltimore, and we had quite a talk, and they said, this is the coming third baseman of baseball, Pie, and glad you two got together.
Well, here is young Don Gullett, the 19-year-old youngster from Kentucky, and a ball 1 to Elrod Hendricks. Frank Robinson third, Brooks Robinson second. Baltimore now 3, Cincinnati 2. And this is the 3rd game in which Gullett has appeared. He's been in 3 of the first 4. He has pitched a total of 4 innings. 2 hits, 1 earned run. 1-1 now to Elrod Hendricks. Gullett has walked 4 and struck out 2 in his previous appearances. This youngster, just 19, only a half a year in the minor leagues. 1-1 to Hendricks. Well, if it stays in play, let's see. And it is out of play. A ball and 2 strikes to Elrod Hendricks. Hendricks has knocked in 3 runs for the Orioles in this series. Has had 2 hits, One a double and one a home run. And there's another hit. Frank scores, and behind him Brooks coming to the plate. Out is the call at the plate.
Well, the 1 run scored. It's a beautiful strike from Pete Rose. With 2 down, they wave Brooks Robinson on in. Here comes the throw. Right on the money. Johnny Bench putting the tag on Brooks. Here's Brooks Robinson leaving second base. Waved in all the way. Trying to fade away from the tag, but can't do it.
And so at the end of the 3rd inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and Cincinnati 2. Well, Cincinnati facing Palmer. Top of the 4th, Tommy Helms. Watch Frank Robinson. 1 gone. Well, there's a little poem on the board. Our thanks to Curt and Chuck, to Lou and Chet, Mark, and all of the crew. If we should win, we loudly cheer, and we'll be seeing you next year. But if we lose, though there be sorrow, we'll be NBCing you tomorrow.
You didn't write that, did you?
I had nothing to do with it. Here's Dave Concepcion. He's been most impressive. Ball 1. Check that, a strike 1. Now 2. Concepcion played very little in late in the season for the Reds, but he's been quite impressive in his plate appearances here in Baltimore. Now 1 and 2. 2 and 2 now.
Palmer's working very rapidly, Chuck. It wouldn't surprise me they start stepping out on him a little bit. Break his rhythm.
Count holding 2 and 2 to Concepcion. The only time Palmer will not work rapidly is when he's, having his problems. 2 and 2 now. Dave Johnson. The foul for the 2nd out. The due batter is pitcher Don Gullett. And Don will bat for himself here in this top of the 4th. This will be his first appearance at the plate. He's been in 2 games, has not officially been to the plate. During the regular season, he hit .211 with Cincinnati. This young man was just a tremendous athlete in Kentucky. Two-strike pitch to Gullett, 2 out, nobody on. Well, that's an unusual pitch from Palmer to pick up another strikeout as 5th. And 3 up and 3 down go the Reds, and so in the middle of the 4th inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and Cincinnati 2. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC. Last half of the 4th inning, Baltimore will bat Johnson, Belanger, and pitcher Jim Palmer against young Don Gullett. Interesting story on the success of the 1970 Orioles for you to look at right now. Strike 1 to Johnson.
They led in that most important department, scoring runs.
109 victories a year ago, 108 this year. 1-1 now to Johnson. And so far in the 70 series, they have done nothing wrong, discounting the errors, which have not hurt them. Out of play. 1 and 2. pursuit may, and it is out of play. The on-deck hitter is Mark Belanger. One-two pitch to Johnson. Another out of play. Right fielder Rose in pursuit, calling for it. And that'll be the first out in the last half of the fourth. Here is Mark Belanger. Fly to center field in the second inning. Ball one. Ball two. One of the infrequent breaking pitches thrown by Gullett. When you've got his kind of a fastball, stay with it. Watch Helms, nifty stab by Tommy, and throw to first for the second out.
Has put Robinson receiving all the notice for his defensive play, but this little Tommy Helms is quite a second baseman.
And a hand building for Baltimore pitcher Jim Palmer. He started the Baltimore uprising in the third with a bloop single to center field. Foul back. That's the way he hit for Baltimore this year. A home run and 9 runs batted in. Two strikes to Palmer. 2 out, nobody on. Out of play. And with a count standing, 2 strikes to Palmer, Merv Retmund appears in the Baltimore on-deck circle. 2-strike pitch to Palmer. And Gullett takes care of the Orioles 1-2-3 order. And at the end of 4 innings of play, the score is Baltimore 4 and Cincinnati 2. And now down to Tony Kubek.
With me down in the field, the president of the National League, Mr. Chub Phenia. Chub, this isn't the National League team we saw win that pennant over there. They're not hitting quite well.
Of course, they haven't been hitting the way they did during the season, but I think you can attribute that to the Oriole pitchers. I think they've played very well. These are 2 great ball clubs. It's no disgrace to be beaten by this fine club. And, of course, I imagine you've heard it many times before that the difference in the series so far is in a man named Mr. Robinson playing third base for the Orioles.
Chub Phenia, thank you so much. Let's go upstairs.
Thank you.
All right, and Tolan, first ball hitting, has popped out to shortstop Mark Belanger, 1 gone in the Cincinnati half of the 5th, and now Pete Rose. That was quite a throw. Rose made it to the plate to cut down Brooks Robinson, who was trying to add Baltimore's 5th run in the 3rd. Rose 1 for 2 this afternoon. Two now to Rose. Out of play. Kind of a protective swing by Rose with 2 strikes, just trying to get a piece of anything close. One and 2, but that was kind of a challenging look from Pete, was it not? well off the plate as a left-handed swinger. Now 2-2 now. Out of play. Two to Rose. Out of play. He guards that plate like a tiger, doesn't he? More 2-2 to Rose. 3-2. Watch left fielder Buford. Wynn's got it. It is gone. Home run, Pete Rose. His first home run of the series. And the happy Cincinnati wives, who in truth have had very little to cheer about. Ball 1 to Perez. Watch Paul Blair. Second out. And now Johnny Bench. As the Reds battle back to make it another one-run ball game. Baltimore 4, Cincinnati 3, 2 out, nobody on, and Bench. Well, Buford coming on and Belanger back. It should be Buford, the left fielder. Final out of the inning, a run on a base hit, and so in the middle of the 5th inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and Cincinnati 3. Winter Games Patch sent a $5 contribution to Olympic House, Box CB, 57 Park Avenue, New York, New York, 116. Every contribution will directly aid your United States Olympic team, and in future years, this distinctive cloth emblem will be a real collector's item. Well, to the last half of the 5th inning, and Buford to lead off for Baltimore in a 4-3 ball game with the Orioles leading Cincinnati, and our pleasure to turn the microphone over to Curt Gowdy.
Thank you, Chuck Thompson. Don Buford has walked and grounded out. Lee May, Bob Tolan, and Brooks Robinson now have hit safely in every game of the series. Blair and Buford did the first 3 games. They haven't had a hit today. Blair will follow, and then Boog Powell. That's Blair on deck. A new ball for pitcher Don Gullett. Gullett has pitched an inning and a third. 1 hit, 1 strikeout, no walks or runs. Gary Nolan charged with a 4 Baltimore runs. 2-0. Count goes 3-0 to Don Buford. Stirring around in the Cincinnati bullpen again. Three and 1. Veteran Clay Carroll is going to start warming up. He warmed up earlier. 3-2. Carroll. Foul back. We received quite a few telegrams disputing the fact that McNally is the only pitcher who ever hit a World Series grand slammer. But it's a fact. It's in the record book. Now, ground ball to second. Helms backed up on it, but still makes the play. One down. Fan wire that Elmer Smith, the Cleveland pitcher, hit a grand slam home run in 1920 against Brooklyn. I saw it. Elmer Smith was a right fielder. That's foul on deck. Well, we get the devil a lot of times struck, and deservedly so. But we can't take the blame for McNally. One ball, no strikes to Blair. Sacrificed and struck out. 4-3 Baltimore. One ball, one strike. Two and one. High score in basketball. High score in football. A blazing fastball in baseball, boy. Foul back. 90% of his pitches thus far have been fastball. We've seen a lot of fouls hit off him. They're not quite getting around on it. A 2-2 delivery. Pounding ball cut off by Perez, the third baseman. 2 away. Boog Powell has rounded out a walk. He scored a run. We got a wire here from a lady in Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Boog Powell.
Please convey congratulations to Boog Powell, who I babysat for when he was just an armful in Lakeland, Florida. I'll bet he was really an armful when he was a baby.
I'm just going to say, Curt, I can't imagine him as an armful. He's got to be more than that.
Right, what was that old song? You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a big, beautiful baby. One strike to Powell, 2 down, nobody on. The Orioles are leading 4-3, last of the 5th. 1 ball, 1 strike to him. Frank Robinson's on deck. Brooks Robinson in the hole. The shift is on. 3 infielders on the right side. Change-up curve is foul back. 1 and 2. These World Series games have moved crisply. The pitchers are working rapidly. And it's the pitcher who can move a ball game. When he works quickly, the whole game moves. The high fastball makes the count 2 and 2. Three and 2. Full count. Here's the pitch to Powell. Struck him out on a fastball. Second strikeout for young Don Gullett. He's now retired 6 in a row, and at the end of 5 innings, Baltimore 4 and Cincinnati 3. We pause now for station.
The batter, number 23, Lee Mayer.
This is a 16-year-old girl, Linda Wareheim, on the Orioles ground crew. She dusts the bases off at the end of the 5th inning, and yesterday she swatted the umpire Emmett Ashford on the seat. Ken Burkhart, though, very alert today. Crowd got a kick out of it. Lee May has walked, had a hit, driven in a run. He scored a run. It's ball 1 to him. Jim Palmer's outside, 2-0. May, Carbo, and Helms for the Reds in the 6th. Strike. The lights are on here in Memorial Stadium on this overcast day. Grounder to short. Belanger from the hole throws him out. 1 down. Rookie Bernie Carbo has struck out, hit into a force play. Looking for his first World Series hit. He's 0 for 5. Palmer looked out to Blair, tried to wave him over a little bit, but Blair stayed in left center. Foul back. See Paul Blair in left center. Buford a shade toward the left field line. Carbo has power to the opposite field. Strike 2. He comes out of that dugout swinging, but he gets a lot of walks, too. He has a very good eye. He knows the strike zone. Brooks Robinson at third. The 2-strike delivery. Struck him out on a breaking pitch. Strikeout number 6 for Jim Palmer. Tommy Helms is struck out. That's Woody Woodward warming up, which means
Tommy Helms.
They're getting down to the bottom of the order. They may be making some changes. Helms is struck out, flied out. Helms didn't hit for a high batting average this year, but he's the toughest player to strike out on the Red team. Struck out only 33 times all year. 2-0. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks for Jim Palmer. Each team has 5 hits. 3-0 to Helms. Walked him on 4 pitches. A 3rd walk for the Reds. Dave Concepcion drilled a triple to right field to knock in a run in the 2nd, grounded out the 2nd and the 4th. He was up 4 times yesterday, hit the ball to right 3 times. Twice today he's hit the ball to right field. They're playing it well over toward right. Blair is way over in right center. 2 down. Helms at first. Strike across the letters. The Orioles are ahead 4-3 in the top of the 6th inning. Blowing away to him. Ball 1, strike 1. Helms on first, 2 down. Foul into the seats. 1 ball, 2 strikes. It's the curve and a line to Belanger at shortstop. No runs for Cincinnati. No hits. There were no errors. They left 1. We've gone 5.5 innings. The score, Baltimore 4, Cincinnati 3. Down to Tony.
Thank you. You know, if the Cincinnati players believe like their wives, we're going back to Cincinnati, aren't we?
We're right, Tony. I hope to bring it back to Cincinnati for the fans in Cincinnati because they are the greatest.
Carolyn Rose, she must have been really thrilled when Pete hit his first World Series home run.
I sure am, and I know that he is, and I know that the Cincinnati Reds want to win, and it's not over yet.
It's a good bunch of guys. Thank you so much, Mrs. Pete Rose. Back upstairs.
Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Ellie Hendricks for the Orioles in the last of the second.
Number 20.
If the Reds do win today, Game 5 of the World Series tomorrow starting at 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Foul ball, Billy Hunter skipping out of the way in the third base coaching box. Robinson has struck out and singled. Gullett struck out Robinson Sunday in Cincinnati in the ninth inning. Hits a fly ball to left. Ernie Carbo picks it off, and there's one down. Brooks Robinson homered, singled, driven in 2 runs. 2 homers in the series. Leads the series now in RBIs at 6. I think the best statement about Brooks Robinson's fielding was made by Sparky Anderson, the Cincinnati manager. He said, "I'm afraid to drop my my sandwich in the clubhouse. Robinson will dart in and pick it up." Two balls and no strikes to him. Started off as a second baseman. Robinson did. Thought he was a little bit too slow, and they changed him to third. Foul back, 2-1. He plays ping pong left-handed. And there's a great game for athletes, ping pong. Teaches quick eyes and quick hands. He says he's a left-hander from his wrist down. The 2-1 delivery. That's the third hit in a row for Brooks Robinson. Now let's see. Now he has been up 15 times and had 7 hits, 6 RBIs. Ellie Hendricks, and a star for the Orioles in this series. Grounded out a single. He had a 2-run double Sunday against young Milt Wilcox. Strike down the third baseline. Said it was the first ball he hit down the third baseline in 12 years, which shows you the way things have been going for Baltimore. In the right field, Robinson's coming to third. The throw by Rose. He's in there, over the head, into the dugout. And over to third goes Hendricks. Hendricks has been jerking that ball to right field. He's a dead pull hitter usually.
Well, we can take a look at the play again, and you talk about the good bounces. Baltimore got more than their share. That went right through there as if it had eyes. And now watch the bounce that Cincinnati's Pete Rose gets in his throw. It's off the mark a little bit, but bounced right on by and into the Oriole dugout, and that allows Baltimore their 5th run. And the error is being charged on the throw.
Rose charged with the error, the second for Cincinnati in the game. Rose made only 1 error this season. It was in the first bad weather game at Riverfront Stadium. A base hit taking a high hop over Rose's glove. We're going to have a change of pitchers. Clay Carroll will be coming on. There's a break in the action here at Memorial Stadium, Baltimore. The score now, Baltimore 5 and Cincinnati 3.
Baseball action films for your meeting. for a catalog of baseball films including World Series of 1970, What Makes an All-Star, highlights from the American and National League seasons, and other exciting shows, write on your organization letterhead to Major League Baseball Film Division, 680 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York.
Woody Woodward has been inserted at shortstop. He's going to bat ninth. He's scheduled to lead off in the seventh. Clay Carroll will bat eighth in Dave Concepcion's spot. Ellie Hendricks at third on the throwing error by Pete Rose. Hendricks did not get an RBI, by the way. The infield is in now with a runner on third, one out. Johnson up, bounced out to the pitcher, fly to right. Ball went to him. 5-3, Baltimore. Gullett worked 2 2/3 innings, giving up 3 hits and a run. Curve for a strike, 1-1. If we go to Game 5, Sparky Anderson had announced either Jim Merritt or Clay Carroll tomorrow. If Game 5 is played, it'll be Merritt now. Foul back. Merritt threw yesterday. He's had a sore elbow, their 20-game winner. Said his elbow felt much better. Clay Carroll working his third game in this series. 29 years old. Gets Johnson on a strikeout. 2 down, the infield will back up. Mark Belanger up. He has now pitched 4 2/3 innings in this 1970 series, allowed 3 hits and no runs. He's been Cincinnati's best relief pitcher. Born in Clanton, Alabama, lives in Bradenton, Florida. His 7th year in the National League. Belanger's fly to center and grounded out. Runner on third, 2 down. Time called. No pitch. This is no pitch. This is no pitch. They'll bring him back. Earl Weaver ran out and pointed out to left field. John Flaherty had run in from the left field foul line, calling time. Someone had dropped something out in the field, in left field.
That is what had to be retrieved. Looks like a souvenir bat. And as you pointed out, Curt, the umpire down the left field line, Red Flaherty, was calling timeout, timeout before the windup of the pitch. And so it will be no pitch, and Belanger will get a lease on life, and it is another example of the better breaks that have gone Baltimore's way.
Weaver was out there to be sure the other umpires knew that Flaherty had called time. He couldn't get anyone's attention. 1 ball, no strikes to Mark Belanger. Last ball for a strike. 1-1. 2 down. Hendricks at third. Baltimore ahead 5-3. Last of the 6th inning. 1-2 to Mark Belanger. Jim Palmer on deck. Ooh, a good save by Johnny Bench. Bench had trouble when he first came up, going off to his right. He's corrected that, though, by working. Good ball players work on their weaknesses, not their strengths. Foul ball. Pretty hot smash for bare-handed Billy Hunter. There's Palmer. The Oriole bat boy, Jay Mazzoni. A high fly to left fielder Bernie Carbo, right in his track. 1 run for the Orioles in the 6th. 2 hits. A costly Cincinnati error. 1 man left. We've gone 6 innings. Baltimore 5 and Cincinnati 3. The top of the 7th, and those are National League fans. Cincinnati fans In the front row is Bob Howson, the general manager. They're just a handful here today in the enemy ballpark. But they're up for the top of the 7th inning stretch. And then the park will come up in the middle of the 7th for the hometown stretch. Angel Bravo is going to bat in place of Woody Woodward.
Batting for Woodward, number 22, Angel Bravo.
Reds will have to make all the moves now. We're in the 7th inning. They're trailing by 2 runs. They're 3 games down in this series. Bravo, Tolan, and Rose. 3 left-handers in a row. Top of the 7th. He pops it up. Dave Johnson. 1 down. Bobby Tolan is single. Walk popped up. He scored a run.
Number 28, Bobby Tolan.
Strike to him. Fluffed the bunt. Brought Brooks Robinson charging in from third. Palmer struck out 6, walked 3. Into the Oriole dugout. Palmer pitched his high school ball at Scottsdale, Arizona. That's the spring training base of the Chicago Cubs. In a beautiful resort area. One and 2. Foul away. Five runs, 7 hits for the Orioles, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Reds. The Reds have made 2 errors in this game. Curve in the dirt. 2 and 2. Reaching for a high one. 7 strikeouts for Palmer. Two years ago, Jim Palmer's future was in jeopardy. Youngest player to ever pitch a shutout in a World Series, 20 years old in 1966. 67 and 68, came up with bad arm and back problems. They say, Chuck, that the Orioles spent nearly $30,000 just on medical bills trying to find the problem.
It was a difficult thing, and some very fine medical attention, plus a heel lift, really solved the problem.
Oh, look at that slow one float over. Strike 2. Now, Paul said when he got the bad arm and came back, he decided he had to go to some other pitches, and there was an example of one that changed of pace. Foul ball to Rose. Rose is grounded out, single, and homered. He's had 4 hits the last 2 days. Palmer, in '69, finally came back to the majors after 2 years away, and still had 40 or 50 days on the disabled list with a bad back. 4 days after he came off the disabled list, he pitched a no-hit game.
It was against Oakland, and he loaded the bases in the 9th inning with walks.
The 2-2 pitch. 3 and 2. He pitched 305 innings this year, tying Sam McDowell for the American League lead and setting a new Baltimore club record. Is that a fair ball? Rose is claiming a hit off his foot. Now they want the ball brought back again. Rose is arguing. They're giving it the shoe polish examination. Rose said it hit my foot, and he's unhappy. Home plate umpire Bob Stewart asked for the ball back from the first base umpire, Bill Williams. Remember in the series last year. And in Milwaukee, when he had some shoe polish on the ball. So Rose is out. 3 up and 3 down. Sparky Anderson is out arguing. And now Bob Stewart goes down to check with his umpire mate, Ken Burkhardt, at third. That's it. The sign retired. In the middle of the 6th inning. Wait a minute. Yep, middle of the 7th inning, the score, Baltimore 5 and Cincinnati 3. Darrell Cheney becomes the third shortstop of the game for the Reds. Jim Palmer leads off. Palmer singled, scored a run, and struck out. Ball 1. The Oriole pitchers can hit. That's Lenhart warming up in the Oriole bullpen. On deck is Don Buford. And now the ball is out on the field, and they've called time in right field. In the playoffs against Minnesota, the 3 starting pitchers all had at least 1 hit in every game. The scout report by Cincinnati on Baltimore, be careful with their 3 starting pitchers. They can swing the bat. That's Mrs. Jim Palmer with the black Western hat. High pop to the infield. Tommy Helms waiting for it. 1 down. 5-3, Baltimore ahead. Last of the 7th. Don Buford has walked, grounded out twice.
Number 9, Don Buford.
Gets it over for a strike. There's not a lot of run in his 3 appearances in this series. Drag bunt. Foul ball. How that bench got out of that catcher's box and down there.
Let's take another look at this drag bunt effort by Don Buford, and look at the bench charge up the line. Carroll elects to let it roll. Bench may have been instructing him to let it roll because he had much the better angle on the play, and they got it foul ground.
The count is 2 strikes to Don Buford. Perez, Bench, and May. The heart of the order coming up for the Reds in the 8th. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 out, nobody on. That's Blair on deck. Pulled him on a curve, throw down to first, strike out for the pitcher, an assist for the catcher, and a put out for the first baseman. 2 down. Carroll's 2nd strikeout. Blair has sacrificed, struck out, grounded out. Well, it was interesting. Mickey Mantle before the game, Chuck, made a prediction a year away. He predicted the Orioles and the Reds would be meeting in the World Series again next year.
I'll tell you, there are a lot of people in Baltimore that hope that Mr. Mantle's prediction is absolutely right.
I suppose the same in Cincinnati. Right. The Reds are a young team. They average 26 years of age. Baltimore averages 29 years of age. So I don't believe the Reds have a player 30 years old in their starting lineup. You saw the Baltimore bullpen. I think it's Watt and Rickard out there. Eddie Watt, a right-hander. Rickard, a left-hander. 2 strikes to Blair. One and 2. 5-3 Baltimore. Last of the 7th. On deck, Boog Powell. Two and 2. The only Reds over 30 are Cloninger, Washburn, Ty Klein, and Jimmy Stewart. The last 2 are utility players. Curve for strike 3. Strong inning again for Clay Carroll. 3 up and 3 down for the Orioles. We've gone 7 innings. The score, Baltimore 5 and Cincinnati 3.
The batter, number 24, Tony Perez.
The Reds send their power boys up in the 8th now. Jim Palmer's low with the first pitch to Perez, ball 1. Perez has struck out twice, flied out. 1-1 to him. Foul ball makes it 1-2. Palmer has struck out 7. He has walked 3. He went 8 2/3 innings in the opening game at Cincinnati. Just a little bit high, 2-2. He has been very tough in this ballpark. Last 2 years, he's won 21 out of 25 games. Ball 3. He's pitched 10 shutouts here in the last 2 years. 3-2. Just to beat them. Now again, his manager Earl Weaver predicts that if there's another 30-game winner in baseball within the next few years, it's going to be Jim Palmer. He thinks some year the 24-year-old right-hander will put it all together for 30. Foul back. The on-deck batter, Johnny Bench. Perez is on. That's the 4th walk given up by Palmer. Johnny Bench has gone hitless. Fouled out, popped up, flied out. Bamberger, the pitching coach, now is coming out to talk to Palmer. You know, 20 Major League Baseball stars will visit our troops in Vietnam. That's Lenhart, number 40. And Eddie Watt, the other right-hander, are going to Vietnam, the hospital bases in Japan, Guam, and the Philippines after the World Series, sponsored by the USO.
Number 5.
They'll go in October
Bench.
and November. 17th group visit of baseball stars to overseas bases. Johnny Bench up. A ball to him. 5-3 Baltimore, 8th inning. Earl Weaver. There's a drive that is a base hit in the corner. Coming on to third is Perez. Bench holds, it's cut off alertly by Belanger. And now here's Earl Weaver coming out. When he comes out, it usually means the pitching change. The next batter for the Reds will be Lee May. Well, the Orioles have done a good job handling Perez and Bench up until this inning. Perez has been 1 for 13. Bench has been 2 for 14. The hand is for Jim Palmer as he goes out. There's a break in the action here at Memorial Stadium. The score, Baltimore 5 and Cincinnati 3. Gil Hodges, whose team beat the Orioles last year in the World Series, is downstairs with Tony.
Gil, last year, of course, you were in the World Championship here in the World Series, and I'm thinking about the Cincinnati Ball Club. Their power hitters have been kind of stymied so far. You were a power hitter. How can that be done so often?
Well, Tony, I think the credit has to be given to the Baltimore pitchers. I think they've been pitching them real good, and also I think the Perez and benches have been swinging a little bad balls now and then. I think maybe they're pressing a little bit.
We're talking to Earl Weaver, and he said that he didn't think that Palmer had his good stuff, and I don't think he was throwing very well today, but he does have a good curveball, and that curveball can be rough on those right-handed power hitters.
Well, there's no question about it, and especially the type of curveball that Palmer throws. It's off-speed and considerably slower than his good fastball.
Gil, you had a great performance in the Eastern Division of the National League this year. You battled down to the finish in spite of the fact that some of your pitchers had bad arms, and we congratulate you for a heck of a season.
Thanks a million, Tony.
Thank you, Gil Hodges. Back upstairs.
28-year-old Eddie Watt from Iowa led the Orioles in games pitched 4 years in a row. 53 games this year he's worked. Won 7 and lost 7. An earned run average of 3.27. The Reds have runners on first and third, nobody out in the 8th inning. Lee May the batter. There it goes. Goodbye. The Reds are in the lead. Tagged that one. Those are the Cincinnati wives. Lee May has now been on base 3 times in this game. He's the top player for Cincinnati in the series. That's his 2nd home run. He takes the lead in RBIs in the series now with 7. And the Reds lead 6-5. Bernie Carbo has a strike on him. 2 of the runs are charged to Palmer. Strike 2. We pause briefly for identification. Curt Gowdy, Chuck Thompson, Tony Kubek back with you in Baltimore. 2-strike pitch. Struck him out on 3 pitches. 1 down. Tommy Helms has struck out, flying out on what? Now you start looking ahead to Baltimore. And in the last of the 8th, they have Powell, Robinson, and Brooks Robinson. Their big boys are due up in the 8th also. Outside. Brooks Robinson with 7 hits leads in the series. May has 6. Paul Blair has 6 hits. Foul out of play. Clay Carroll will be the man now to try and keep Cincinnati alive. He's done a brilliant relief job so far. And he'll try and hold this lead. Mark Anderson, Pete Rose alongside him. Rose with his high crew cut. Ground ball, getting by Brooks Robinson. Belanger fields it. Well, that's one they finally got by Robinson. Maybe Cincinnati thinks things are changing, Chuck.
Well, we talked about that a bit yesterday, that the Reds desperately needed some kind of a break to kind of, well, if you can use the expression, light the fire. And well, that big home run by May here in the 8th inning may have just done what Cincinnati needs to prolong this series.
Has scored a base hit for Tommy Helms. Their 3rd hit this inning. Clay Carroll swings and tries to chop it over the head of the drawn-in Robinson. Helms coming back to first. Earl Weaver Bamberger alongside of him. Foul ball on the bunt. Let's see if he tries to bunt on the third strike. One out. Helms at first. Darrell Cheney on deck. He's automatically out. A strikeout for the pitcher, put out for the catcher. 2 down. Darrell Cheney, a switch hitter, hitting .232 this year.
Number 12, Darrell Cheney.
Two away, Helms at first. 3 runs in for the Reds in the 8th inning. They lead now 6-5. Fouled away. A real blast by Lee Maychuk.
There wasn't any doubt about that. He was ready when Watt came to the mound.
One strike count. Nothing at 2. Foul sails into the seats. Well, there were Secret Service men around here today, outside, inside the park, and very strong rumors. Grabowski and Rickard in the bullpen for the Orioles that President Nixon would be here, but he has not shown. He's missed a good ball game. Maybe he's watching on television. Avid sports time. Nice to see him out at the ballpark, Chuck. The vice president. 1-2, and I was working with the Red Sox. I think you were with the Senators then. 2,000 or 3,000 people out there tonight. He'd be out there night after night.
Always has been. As a matter of fact, showed up after a press conference last year to see the 8th and 9th inning of the Baltimore-Washington game.
Foul tip for strike 3. But the Reds go ahead in the 8th inning with 3 runs, 3 hits. There were no errors. 1 man left. At the end of 7 1/2, Cincinnati 6, Baltimore 5. Boog foul, Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson. Foul, as you can see, led the Orioles in homers this year. The Reds have stopped him now. He's not had a hit at his last 6 official trips to the plate. Clay Carroll has pitched an inning and 2/3 of relief, no hits and no runs. Ball 1 to Powell. The shift is on for Powell. Carroll has struck out 3 of the 5 batters he's faced. Powell back out of play. 1-1. The Cincinnati bullpen is quiet. It's up to Clay Carroll to keep the Reds alive. If the Reds hold the lead, we'll have Game 5 tomorrow, starting at 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Inside, and if Game 5 is played, Mike Cuellar against probably Jim Merritt, 2 left-handers. Stop. The throw, wide, tag and dive. Beautiful play by Tony Perez at third. And at the other end, Lee May again coming through for the Reds.
Well, Let's take a look again in the replay of this magnificent play from the fired-up Tony Perez. Not only a good stop, but he got the throw away in time and going away from his target. And now watch what Lee May does with it, taking no chances off the bag to make the tag of Powell. And he may have gotten jammed just a little bit in the collision with Powell, but a dandy play by the Reds. Curt?
Frank Robinson hits the ball to shortstop Cheney. He's out, 2 down. Brooks Robinson, 3 for 3, a homer, 2 singles, 2 RBIs. He has scored 2 runs. In the playoffs, 3 games against Minnesota and the World Series, he's hitting .519, 14 hits and 27 times up. He's had 5 hits in his last 7 times up a strike. Look at Perez at third on the line. He doesn't want that extra base hit down the line. Give him the single to the left. Foul ball. Now Tony Perez, a great fellow, has really been praising Brooks Robinson. Best he ever saw, he said. And then Perez has just come up with a big play himself. Without that play, that would have been a double. The tying run on second. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 down, nobody on. Cincinnati leading 6-5, last of the 8th inning. Curve is outside, 2-2. Brooks Robinson. Some of his fans wanted me to remind you people that he was an all-state basketball player 2 years in a row at Little Rock, Arkansas, where he was reared. 3-2 to Brooks Robinson. Three-two pitch. Base hit, 4 for 4 for Robinson. The tying run is now on. And the batter is Ellie Hendricks. He's grounded out. Single to right. Single to right. Robinson had just tied a series record, which has been done many times, of getting 4 hits in a series game. Hendricks up, 2 down. Brooks Robinson at first. Cincinnati ahead by 1 run. A ball. Now we're getting some action, Chuck, out in that Cincinnati bullpen.
I thought I caught a glimpse of Jim Merritt. I'm not sure. We'll check again.
That's
Granger.
Wayne Granger. Fastball across the letters to him, 1-1. Robinson's had 8 hits in 4 games in this series. Curve is beat down to Lee May. He'll make the play, and they're out of the inning. Ellie Hendricks grounding out to May. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. We're going to the 9th inning with a score, Cincinnati 6 and Baltimore 5. Well, we don't know what's going to happen in the 9th inning or tomorrow, if it goes tomorrow. We may be back in Cincinnati. If we are, on Sunday for the 7th game. The World Series will start at 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And following the World Series, we'll have NFL football, Pittsburgh and Houston. If not, there'll be a lot of attractive games on NBC. Consult your paper for the listing of the game in your area for NFL football on Sunday. Ball 1 to Bobby Tolan, who has 1 hit in 3 times. Eddie Watts, the pitcher, 2-0. He came in the 8th. 2 men on, nobody out. There's Rose on deck and served up a home run pitch to Lee May, which put the Reds out in front. Ball 3.
just saw Mo Grabowski in the Oriole bullpen.
Nolan walks. And the top base stealer in the majors is now on first. Here's Earl Weaver coming out. Bring him on, he says. Well, this will be all for Eddie Watt. A break in the action here at Baltimore. The score, Cincinnati 6, Baltimore 5. While Mo Grabowski warms up, let's go down to Tony.
Well, a little while ago, we talked to Gil Hodges, manager of the year last year in the National League. Standing next to me, Danny Murtaugh. Danny, you've got a good shot at this year along with Sparky Anderson.
Well, it looks like that, Tony.
I saw one of the polls that was taken. The managers have already picked their choice, and it was you. You must be pretty happy.
Well, anytime you're picked by the men you work with, naturally it makes it a double honor.
Danny Murtaugh, you had a real battle with the Cincinnati Ball Club in the National League Championship Series. They're a good ball club, and you think this little psychological lift from the bat of May is going to make a difference?
It seemed like at the last inning they had a little more ginger out there, and we all know in our league that our club, the National League Cincinnati Ball Club, hasn't been getting any baseball breaks. We're due for a couple, Tony.
I'm going to put you on the spot right here. Do you think Tolan's going to be running off Hendricks?
They're liable to hit and run a little bit. I don't think they're going to have him bunting. That's a pretty good hitter up there.
Thank you very much, Danny Murtaugh. Let's go back upstairs.
All right.
Pete Rose is the batter. He's had a single and a home run in 4 times up. Complete Bob Tolan at first base. 35-year-old Mo Grabowski on the mound. Pitched Sunday, 2 in the 3rd innings. Gave up a home run to Johnny Bench. Slams it to center field. Blair's there. 1 down. Tony Perez.
Number 24, Tony Perez.
So far has had a tough series at the plate. He's 1 out of 13. He walked in the 8th. Came in to score on Lee May's 3-run homer. That put the Reds ahead 6-5. Reds holding that 1-run lead in the top of the 9th. There goes the runner. Here's the throw. And he is out. Dave Johnson took the pen.
I will take a look at the leading base stealer, Tolan, and the fine throw from Elrod Hendricks. The Johnson tag and the 2nd down.
The pitch was a ball to Perez. 2 down, nobody on now for the Reds. The Orioles in their last of the 9th have Johnson, Belanger, and Grabowski scheduled up. Bottom of their order. A high fly to right center. Blair going for it. He's there. We're going to the last of the 9th inning with the score. Cincinnati 6 and Baltimore 5. Get the facts about drug abuse. If your child is school age, you better start doing your drug homework. You'll find a simplified cram course on drug abuse in a book titled Answers to the Most Frequently Asked Questions About Drug Abuse. Write to the National Clearinghouse for Drug Abuse Information, Box 1080, Washington, D.C., 20013. Dave Johnson. Grounded the pitcher, flied out, struck out. On deck is Terry Crowley. Ball 1. Johnson hits a high fly down the left field line. Going for it is Cheney. He's got it, the shortstop, and foul ground. 1 away in the last of the 9th inning. Terry Crowley.
Your attention, please.
A young left-hander.
For Belanger, number 37, Terry Crowley.
Appearing in his first World Series. Crowley, Retman, Some of the talented kids, Rich, that the Orioles have in their dugout that can't play because the Orioles just have too many good players in the field. The Orioles have a great young outfielder named Don Baylor in the minors, Rochester. Ball one, they say, is a real comer. Crowley hit 260. He's dangerous. Foul away, 1-1. Cincinnati ahead 6-5, last of the ninth inning. Clay Carroll has now pitched 3 scoreless innings of relief. Pulled him on a curve. Strike 2. Carroll started the ninth inning of this game with 7 1/3 innings behind him in this World Series of shutout ball. He's been by far Cincinnati's best reliever. Curve is hit down to Lee May. It's a fair ball. 2 down. And the Reds now are 1 out away of moving this series along to tomorrow. Now another pinch hitter coming up. Merv Retman. Here's a kid that's on the bench and led the Orioles in hitting. Sparky Anderson. Been frustrated for 3 days. Now he gets his infield set. He just moved Bobby Tolan over in the right center. Merv Retman, playing part-time, hit 18 homers, 58 RBIs. He could play regular with most teams. 2 down, nobody on. 6-5 Cincinnati. The curve misses, ball 1. Once again, Tony Perez right on that third baseline, guarding against an extra base hit. Put the tying run on second. Last ball for a strike. 1-1. Now Lee May and Clay Carroll are the boys today for Cincinnati. Curve is high and away. Ball 2. The 2-1 pitch. Foul back on a fastball, 2-2. Sparky Anderson waiting for Carroll's next pitch. 29-year-old Carroll from Bradenton, Florida throws. Foul ball. If the Reds hold this lead, get this last out, it'll not only move the series to tomorrow. That fooled him, but he just laid the bat out, as you saw. But it would snap a magnificent winning streak. The Orioles have won 17 games in a row through the regular season, the playoffs, and the World Series. They won 10 in a row here in their own ballpark. The 2-2 pitch. 3-2 we go to Merv Retman. On deck is Don Buford. Bounding ball to Perez. The throw wide out at first base. Ball dropped by Lee May. The ball fell out of May's glove on the impact. And Retman is on, and the Orioles have the tying run at first. Let's watch it now. Perez coming up, makes a wide throw again. May has to leave the bag for the swipe tag, and as he tags Retman, the impact jarred the ball loose. You see the ball rolling to the right. Retman is on, the tying run. An error charged on Perez for his wide throw. Earlier in the 8th inning, he made a wide throw, and May made a great save of it in the tag. Don Buford, the batter. Ball 1 to Buford. Buford is hitless in 3 times, and he's walked. 6-5, Cincinnati. 2 down for the Orioles. Merv Retman at first base. Fastball strike. 1-1. Blair on deck. That was the third error today by the Reds. Putting down 2-1. Retman at first, 2 down. Last of the ninth, 2-1 to Don Buford. Three and 1. Nervous Sparky Anderson right now. 3-2. 2 down. Retman will be going on the pitch. An extra base hit might score him. Wayne Granger continuing to throw in the Cincinnati bullpen. 3-2 pitch coming up. There goes a runner. Struck him out. The ball game is over. And the Reds have won their first game of the 1970 series. A tremendous relief job by Clay Carroll, who worked 3 2/3 innings, a 1-hit shutout ball. And he has now pitched 8 1/3 innings in this World Series and has not given up a run. The bullpen has failed Cincinnati on other occasions, but Carroll has not let them down. And the big blow is Lee May's 3-run homer in the top of the 8th inning. The final score, the Reds 6 runs, 8 hits, and 3 errors. Baltimore 5 runs, 8 hits, and no errors.